Welcome guys, and thank you so much for purchasing my Dangerously Safe prediction. It's something that I am extremely proud of, and it's something that I've used in every single one of my shows for the past 3 years, in corporate, college, theater, you name it. This has gone through a lot of different variations throughout the years to get to where it is now. I'm going to go through some of those with you just to show you my process of thinking. I also wanted to give credit to the creators that influenced me to create this piece. In fact, the actual name of this prediction is from two of the creators that influenced it. The first of those was Luke Germay, who I believe his is called the Dangerous Opener. And then you had Colin Cloud, who I believe had the Safe Opener. I could have that switched around, but they basically had similar ideas, just done in different ways. And I kind of took the ideas from both of them, mixed them with my own, so I named this the Dangerously Safe prediction. So again, thank you so much for purchasing. Now let's go into what you've received. Okay, so let's go over what is inside the actual package you received. So inside the package, when you open it up, you are going to find the special gimmicked stand. And by gimmicked, I mean I just glued a magnet to the bottom of it. This will allow you to attach this stand to any metal surface. Examples of these surfaces I have used are tables that I've actually gotten from somewhere like Walmart, and it looks plastic, but on the outside, on the edge, there's actually metal, so it sticks right on the end. Other things you can do, and probably my favorite thing to do, is to take a microphone stand and you take off the top that holds the actual microphone. And what this will be is just a long stand on the top. It will just be a flat metal part. So this will stick perfectly to the top of that microphone stand, and it will look like a professional envelope stand that, you know, is something that's part of your show. You will also receive the very special gimmicked envelope for the Dangerously Safe prediction. This is a two-way out envelope, and one side will be taped down and the other side will be left open. We'll get into how to use this in just a moment. Now, the proper way to put these two together and how you will be doing it to prepare for your performances is you want the open side to be clipped onto the stand. Now, the reason this has a magnet is because on its own, it can stand up, but it definitely is not that stable. It can fall over very easily. So you will want to use the magnet to stick this to a surface. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a very basic, bare bones presentation of the Dangerously Safe prediction, just so you can see how it works, how the mechanics work, and everything like that. I have the stand and the envelope standing on a phone charger because that is the closest metal object I had, so don't judge me. But let's get into it. So I recently saw a viral post that said, you know, would you risk flipping a coin and either guessing it correctly and getting $50,000 or getting it wrong and dying? So quite a risk there for a 50-50 chance. However, when I read this, I thought this is something I could do because as a mentalist, I'm predicting things all the time and I'm very confident in my prediction abilities. So with that said, I have a coin here, and inside this envelope, I wrote down a prediction of what I believe this coin will land. So we're going to flip this now and see what it lands on. That was a mistake. Okay, perfect. We have, I don't know if the camera can see that, but that is heads. So at this point, I would not be removing this envelope. I wouldn't even be going near the envelope. I wouldn't be touching it. I would have the participant do this. They would go over and I would say, remove the envelope from the stand, and it should already be open. Inside is my prediction. They can confirm there's nothing else inside the envelope. They will open up the envelope, or open up the prediction, and ta-da, the coin will land on heads. So that's a very basic presentation, just to show you how this works. So let's get into how exactly this works. Okay, so obviously what you just saw could have ended up with two different outcomes. It could have landed on tails, or it could have landed on heads. Two different outcomes, a 50-50 chance. What this envelope is a double envelope, but it's made in such a way with the stand that you never have to touch the envelope at any point or the prediction. The participant always takes the envelope, they always open it, they always take out the prediction, and you are always right. So the way this works is, let's say this would have landed on tails instead. When it landed on heads, I said, perfect, I want you to go take the envelope off the stand, and it should already be open, take out what's inside. So when they do that, when they take the envelope off and I say it should already be open, they will see that it's already open. And that's one option. This is the heads, and they can confirm there's nothing else inside. However, if it would have landed on tails, I would have said, perfect, I want you to go over to the envelope stand. You can leave the envelope right on there, but I want you to open up the top flap, reach inside, and take out the prediction. So they will do that, and I can say, look inside, make sure there's nothing else in there. They open this up, and now it says tails. So, in short, option A is always held closed by the stand. Option B is held closed by tape. So if they go with option A, you always have them remove the envelope from the stand and tell them it's already open. So that when they open this, they will only see that one option. The other option will be kept closed by the tape. If they choose option B, you simply have them keep the envelope on the stand, but open the flap. And this will give them option B. And it will be, the other option, option A, will be held closed by the stand, so they never see that. And this is the basic principle behind the dangerously safe prediction. It allows you to never have to touch anything, but always be right. Okay, so now that you guys learned the basic idea and principle behind the dangerously safe prediction, the main routine that I use for this is my dangerously safe opener / closer, because sometimes I use it as just an opener, other times, most of the time, I use it actually as a closer. So the dangerously safe opener / closer is what you saw in the trailer. This is where I give them two options, A or Z, and I give someone the option to choose whichever one they want to get rid of. And I don't tell them what's inside the boxes, I just have two boxes, one that's A and one that's labeled Z. So what I normally do is I call on someone in the audience and I tell them they are going to have the ultimate decision of which one of these boxes they would like to get rid of, whether that's A or Z. And throughout the show, I'm going to give them multiple chances to change their mind. However, before they choose, I want the audience to weigh in on what they would do. Audience, if you would like to get rid of box A, please applaud now. They do that. They vote. Audience, if you would like to get rid of box Z, please applaud now. They do that. They vote. Now, throughout the show, I kind of play on this idea of whether or not they've decided to go along with the audience or have gone against them. And I play this as kind of an influence routine, that I'm influencing them and the audience is influencing them to choose whatever they happen to choose. So throughout the show, I've written in certain points where we go back to that person and they choose one of the boxes. And I give them a chance to kind of change their mind. They usually don't, but it doesn't matter what they choose in the end. So at the end, I give them one final chance to change their mind or choose a box, and they do. Now, inside the envelope, I put instructions, not just a prediction like you will choose A or you will choose E. It's instructions. And it kind of explains that inside one of the boxes is something very dangerous and the other is very safe. Now, depending on which box they choose, that's going to affect the instructions, because I always ask them which one would they like to get rid of. So in a sense, I'm kind of using a magician's force, but it's predicted ahead of time, so I'm not changing anything in real time in their minds. So for the first option, let's say they open it. Let's say they choose A. So I have them open up the envelope according to option A. They open it up. The instructions will read something like, inside one of the boxes is something that's very safe, and inside the other is something that's very dangerous. But I believe intuition has guided you to get rid of the correct box today. So you are going to take that box and you are going to get rid of it right over my head. And just like you saw in the trailer, they dump that out and it's a bunch of packing peanuts that fall on top of me. And at the end, I reveal that in the other box, if they would have chosen the other one, I dump that out and inside is a giant cinder block, and I drop that onto a metal chair. And that's very important. I let that drop onto a metal chair so that it's very loud, and which just kind of amplifies the effect. Now, if they would have chosen the other option, which would be the box that is the dangerous box, the box with the cinder block, they open up the instructions, and all the instructions read exactly the same, except for when we get to the part of what they're going to do with their box. When we get to that point, it's going to say, you have chosen to get rid of one of the boxes. The other box we are going to use tonight, and you're going to use it by dumping it right over my head. So as you can see, it's kind of a magician's force. They got rid of the other box, which means we aren't using that one. Now, since you have them in instructions, it almost takes away that magician force aspect, because in their minds, you've already written this prediction down. You've already written these instructions way ahead of time, so you couldn't have changed anything, which is why it's so perfect for this effect, because the envelope is there the entire time. You tell them you have these instructions. They open it themselves every single time. You never touch anything. Literally, it's almost a self-working effect. All you have to do is remember which side of the envelope is which option. So that's basically it for my opener / closer. So I also wanted to go over with you a few different variations of that same routine. Over the past, I have used a less dangerous aspect to it while also still having risk. I've used this in a corporate scenario where I take 2 blank envelopes and I have the person who hired me place the check that they're going to give me into one of the envelopes. So this concept is slightly different. I label one of the envelopes A and the other Z, and I put them on display, and I give them an option to get rid of one. Now, at the end, one of the envelopes is going to be ripped up. Basically the same exact presentation as before, the same method, I should say. However, you're ripping up the envelope that doesn't have the check in it, and the other one you would rip up. Now, in this scenario, I do tell them what's inside the envelopes from the beginning, and say that if I rip up the check, I won't get paid for this performance. So that's just another aspect to it. You don't have to make it a dangerous routine. Another variation I've had is I've done the spike in a block. Basically the same exact concept. However, I put a spike in a bag, and the other one just has a wooden block, and it's still A and Z. So there's a lot of different variations you can do to this same routine. You can kind of let your imagination go wild. And I'm actually going to go over some tips in the next section to kind of get your imagination flowing. So one of the most important things to remember when you are creating routines using this system is that there needs to be risk involved with this 50-50 choice, because if you have a prediction that's just a 50-50 choice, that's not super impressive unless you put risk on it. For example, people might think, oh, it's just 50-50. But if I have a 50-50 chance of getting a very, very serious injury or dying, that's still extremely impressive if there's a lot of risk to it. If you have a 50% chance that this could go terribly, terribly wrong, or 50% chance that it could go right, that's a huge risk. That is a very huge risk. And you have to build up that risk. That's why I usually close with it, and I build up this risk over and over and over throughout the show. Another tip I have is for your prediction paper, I use just copy paper and I cut it in half. And then what I do is I fold it up and fold it up again, and that fits perfectly inside the envelope. I have used smaller paper as well, and usually what I'll do is I'll type up the instructions. It just makes it seem more permanent. Another suggestion I have is you don't have to limit it to a 50-50 choice. You can make it appear like there's more choices. For example, another way I use this same envelope is with Colin Cloud's Bookless Book Test, which works absolutely perfect with his method, which I won't go into. You'd have to purchase that yourself. I believe he teaches it on his Penguin Live lecture and the Opening Minds DVD set. But this is just another way to use this envelope to almost appear to predict literally any word if you combine it with his. So that's just to get your juices flowing. So that's just to get your juices flowing. You don't have to use a 50-50 choice. There are ways you can make it seem like they had more choices. Another way you can add risk to a 50-50 choice is not having to do with bodily harm or anything like that. But what you can do is you can bet very large amounts of money. You can really make this theatrical and dramatic by, removing your rings, your watches, placing that up for a bet. Put your wallet down. You can really, really build it up that way, which just makes the effect even more impressive. So just another quick idea, you can also use this, because I've used it in the past, for gender reveals, Super Bowl predictions, and presidential elections. So you can build this up to be something way bigger than it really is in a very, very clean way. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much again for purchasing this kit, and I really hope you get as much use out of it as I have, and just go blow people's minds. All right, thank you, guys.